Hey, it's your boy Violent Animal Drawer, and I am here with a rant fresh off my fucking Vyvanse prescription. Anybody who be into that ADHD med shit, probably knows where this comes from. But it is something I think that is genuinely important, and I feel as though younger artists could benefit from this, especially if you are planning on becoming some sort of professional, you know, uh, especially if you're becoming some sort of professional storyboard artist, because professional storyboard artist kind of entails many jobs. The better technology gets about it, the more shit we have to do. And I feel as though the standards for what is expected of us, despite all these new expectations that are constantly getting bigger, the standards are not shifting to accommodate that. Sometimes you get like a good boss, who will kind of look at every situation and say, "Oh, this set of sequences that I passed out for this cycle is kind of difficult. Like this one has an action scene, this one has a lot of characters. Um, but most of the time on a schedule at a gig, they will just kind of expect consistency out of you, no matter what they ask you for, and they would rather you fail to meet their literally physically impossible standard, and then deal with that accordingly, than to just say to you, "Hey, this might be impossible. Just give me what you can." Sometimes they will say that, but often they don't. And also too, if even if you're not like trying to be like a story artist or trying to like work in TV entertainment or whatever with boards, um, everybody kind of has like ideas that they want to make, whether they end up doing them or not. I think that just as a result of watching a lot of media, and playing a lot of video games and just enjoying fiction in general, it's kind of impossible to avoid the temptation to try and make your own large project, that resembles the things that you enjoy. I am obviously a massive victim of this, and by victim, I mean like I enjoy it. Like it's hard work, it's annoying, but so are video games. So like I could either be playing fighting games or I could be doing this, and I'm pretty 50-50 on that. But either way, I think this advice will be helpful to younger cats because when you're younger and you have things that you want or things that you want to do or things that you want to accomplish or like a something like that, it's very easy to not be aware of how many steps that thing takes in order to get what you want. um you yourself, like a director or a producer or someone who you are working under, who may not really understand how much work they have dropped in your lap and how physically impossible it may be to draw all that work or to do all that work. um just like that, you will say, "Hey, I wanted to have this much of my comic done, or I wanted to have this much of my short film done, or even like something simple, like an animatic, like what I'm doing right now, for my portfolio. Like it's easy to jump in to something that is more difficult than you expected because you want a certain result. And you might feel awful and you might not feel like working on your project anymore because you're just like, well, I was gonna make a fucking rollicking fucking fantasy epic that there's four kingdoms related to different elements, and like I have to like go to every single one of them and I gotta show them all and have all their politics and stuff like that. And that shit, it's hard, but more than hard, it's time consuming. And I think a lot of people don't really get that because it's a lot easier to consume a piece of fiction content that took a lot of work than it is to actually fucking make one. So I see a lot of my peers, very, very intimidated from making personal projects because, like, they they remember that every little thing must be thought out and every little thing must be designed and every little thing must be done and that thing takes time and they had an expectation of how quick or how easy or how doable even something is and just like it can't always be accurate. You can never like account for all that shit. So I'm going to use the portfolio piece that I'm working on right now to kind of like convey this idea. So, uh, those of y'all paying close attention to my shit, first of all, I love you. Second of all, I'm, y'all know that I'm working on a cartoon of the cyborg donkey guy that I always draw on my like music visualizers and shit like that. It's called Punk Ass Pirate Donkey, and this film is 12 minutes long. And 3 months ago, I released Dumpster Fire, which is 14 minutes long. Now, cumulatively, I probably worked on Dumpster Fire for maybe like a a solid 3 months of work. Okay, like it took me like I worked on it a little bit last year while I was working on Kill Wolfie 2, while animating, just as something else to do, like when I felt like drawing, but not felt like drawing Kill Wolfie. I did like, rough shit with just like little tiny doodles. But overall, the entirety of Dumpster Fire, which is on my channel, 14 minutes, took me about like 3 months of work to write it, make the rough animatics, make the music, like direct the voice actors, all this shit like that, design everything. Took me about 3 months. Um, and in like a on a TV show, you'll get like 6 weeks to make like 7 minutes of content. So like it's a little slower than normal, but I also had to do like everything. There was no team. So I was aware of that, even though I wanted to move at a schedule I'm used to moving at work, and feel like I was improving at doing that schedule. Now, punk ass, it has been about 3 months since I released Dumpster Fire, and I have been working on this punk ass pirate donkey animatic the entire time since I finished that film. And I am about halfway through preliminary cleanup for this. So that's just kind of like the presentable drawings and stuff like that. So, um why is that? Like why is it that like one of these projects, Dumpster Fire is fucking 14 minutes and took me 3 months, but this project specifically um is 2 minutes shorter at 12 minutes and is taking me way fucking longer. Because like preliminary cleans is just like the bare fucking minimum, you know? So I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit. Like, both of these films are things that I wrote, did all the visuals, made all the music, did all the sound design solo. Um, I'm not putting any less time into punk ass. It's the same obsessive but genuinely fun, 7 to 10 hours, like 6 days a week, but this is really, really common in professional art. Like, Dumpster Fire is a bunch of conversations in a grocery store checkout, in a kitchen, on a porch, and like, there's like two, like, kind of light, like, actiony, like, energetic sort of scenes or whatever. But for the most part, is comprised of things that are extremely easy to just pop off without much like thought or research. Like you imagine a kitchen, in a suburban house, and that is going to be like you don't have to like look at a bunch of Google images. You don't have to decide how everything in the kitchen works or whatever. You can honestly almost just kind of like draw shapes of vague things and people will be like, "Ah, that's a blender. That's a waffle maker." Yada yada, something like that. So like, there's about like probably 15 characters in Dumpster Fire total. Um and only 5 of them like move and talk. There's just like there's the King Boys, and then there's like fucking Pam, and then like the horny grocery store clerk. And those are the only characters who like move and talk. So that that type of thing is, I basically plan that out to be easy. It's all talking. There's a lot of reusing of the environments, and the environments themselves were not that difficult to make. um Punk ass, on the other hand, has about like 40 characters, 40 plus characters, and about 20 of them move and talk. And it takes place in a sci-fi fantasy world, where even at bare minimum effort for each thing, I have to design each one of those characters. I have to, like every device that they fucking interact with, like every made up sci-fi room, that they inhabit, every vehicle, like all of like the starships and shit like that. And then like, like the action scenes in Dumpster Fire were like them making breakfast, and them like, you know, uh farting fire at Pam. And that was still just like four characters. I didn't really have to think about them moving in Z space, or like, like maintaining their sizes while also having compositions, while also having them interacting and stuff like that. With Punk Ass, there is a fight with like, the fight itself has like 15 characters in it, and they are all moving. They are all they're not all talking, but they are all thinking. And I have to convey Orhuff's fighting style. I have to, like, he does capoeira, and I like want that capoeira to look cool. So I'm like looking at reference, for that shit. I have to like think about every enemy strategy as they fucking attack. Like, why are they attacking the way that they are? What are they planning when they come at Orhuff? As he's like doing his flippy dippy spin kicks and shit. Like, these things have a good amount of like bullshit room, but like even like a tiny butterfly sneeze of believability is the difference between like extremely engrossing like sci-fi fantasy martial arts content, like any of those. Especially, I say those things specifically because those things all require a lot of thought, not like just because Punk has all these things in it. But like one sneeze of believability for each of these fucking things often takes hours of research and hours of fucking trial and error to make sure that it plays off of everything else around it. Um that it's a lot, like every tiny little fucking thing. Like, I literally have like a file folder of like dudes shooting machine guns, like images of like real people shooting automatic weapons, because like if they're shooting at Orhuff, I have to like think of like what their stance is going to be. Like, is it going to be believable, or is it just going to be me trying to like bullshit, like what I've seen in movies, like from memory. And it's perfectly fine to do that, but you know, like seriously, like if you watch a fucking fight scene and you can't really tell what the characters are thinking, or like why they're doing what they're doing, that fight is probably going to be like not hit you very hard, but like if you see somebody do like a crazy insane like martial arts move or whatever, and you know exactly why they did it and why it was strategically effective, that's what makes good fight choreo. That's the point of good fight choreo. So why am I, bringing up all this shit and like bragging about what a productive art boy I am? What a self-motivated art man I am to do all these things on my own, because I want to, which, a lot of reasons that start with the letter A, but but like mostly I'm bringing, like, I do all this stuff because it's fun and it will make the content more interesting, but I bring it up specifically because these things oftentimes are a stopgap for people when they are trying to make their own fiction content, or they make things extremely difficult for you in a professional situation to not be aware of like what this shit is. When you're on a 6 week storyboard schedule on a TV show, um you're kind of just like every 6 weeks you get pretty much the same amount of work, and oftentimes, you are expected to do different types of work when you put something, on paper or in the program that you're fucking working on. You can one episode you might get, like I don't know, like 8 minutes of characters talking or whatever, like in the script. And like the script, things are often broken down into pages. So, like, everybody might get like 7 or 8 pages out of the fucking script that they're supposed to fucking storyboard or whatever. And some cycles it will be talking, which can take up a whole page without being very, time consuming or difficult or whatever, because you might just have like two or three characters in every scene talking, and they want you to be efficient so the animation is cheap and stuff like that, so you can take a lot of shortcuts like dumpster fire, which is why I made dumpster fire for my portfolio. But um sometimes after doing that, you will find yourself with like 6 pages of script where like the writer will have done, like 2 sentences, like character fucking, leaps into action, kills everybody in the fucking room. Like this, this fucking, the fight scene in fucking punk ass, like, let me see, I got the script right here. Like, okay, so I wrote in the script, Punk draws his blades and runs in without hesitation to brutally eviscerate the realm soldiers shooting at the defectors. The ones who aren't wounded jump into the fight, stopping to pick up the guys who were injured, and they run to the cargo gate. Now, that is two run-on sentences of like content or whatever that is pretty common, in a script at work. But even though that was just like a small paragraph, that could easily be the same amount of work, and is in this case the same amount of work as 2 pages of content that you might be given on a storyboard gig. And you will oftentimes be asked to finish it at the same speed, because they are just trying to get things done by a schedule. Even your leadership has schedules that they have to adhere to, but oftentimes they cannot see the little things that lead to an assignment being extremely time consuming and difficult. Sometimes you get a really good boss who, can like see these sorts of things, and they can, like they'll be like, oh, well, this is like an action scene, so we're going to give you, 4 pages instead of 10 pages this fucking week, because like each sentence of this is gonna take like, hours and hours of fucking work, days of work or whatever. Like these 2 sentences I just read from the punk ass script. And it's very easy to look at that and be like, somebody had an expectation of me, therefore I I either failed it or I nailed it. Like you will, if you don't finish the thing, if you don't finish the same 5 pages that you may have had every storyboard cycle, um, and this time you find yourself like not able to finish it, even though you worked 8 hours a day and you were extremely, productive or whatever, you might find yourself just completely physically incapable of doing the amount of work that you were given, because on paper, your leadership may have seen it as the same amount of work because it's the same amount of script pages, but every sentence of the script requires way more fucking work, than the last one that was expected of you. And if you're making your own fucking project and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna make like a minute long cartoon like on my own, but that minute long cartoon requires like a scene of like choreographed martial arts warfare, then like that's going to be different than if you set out to make a cartoon that is just 2 characters talking. So I bring this up to just be like, listen, when you're working on something, for a gig or for yourself, be very, very cognizant of what you are setting out to do. So many people are just like, oh, like like I should be making my own fucking personal projects. But like my own personal project fucking, like I tried to do it and it was extremely difficult and intimidating and I just couldn't make myself fucking finish it. I'm such an idiot. It's only a minute long. Why am I such an unproductive idiot? Like, so many fucking artists think this way. But that is extremely, extremely fucking irrational to fucking do that. And I've done it. And that's why I'm talking about it. Because I feel like at least one of you niggas have probably, like, been through this before to where you start something and you're like, I'm being unproductive. I'm not being efficient. Why am I not capable of doing this? And it's probably because of details like that that you did not fucking notice. Everything in a fucking a multi-discipline product like a fucking short film. Like I'm literally just making animatics. Like it's not even like whole cartoons. And I still have to think about like every single little fucking thing that is going to show up in these fucking cartoons. Like the fact that like I had to like think about like what they are eating in this fucking scene. Orhov comes in here and like he gives out food to all his fellow pirates or whatever in this fucking strategy meeting. And when I wrote it and when I was roughing it out, it was just like, yeah, like, and then Punk brings food in, and he feeds everybody. But there was a moment where I had to say to myself, what food did he bring in, and what are they eating? Because that really, really affects um what what happens in the fucking scene. Like I decided that the characters in the scene would be eating samosas because samosas are just a thing that you can just hold in your fucking hand and just eat without, conveying too much. Like it's just a fucking triangle full of like vegetables and shit. But I had to like plan that out because if I had him come in with stir fry, instead of samosas, I have to think about how every character in this scene with four niggas in it are going to be eating each of these bowls of rice. Like each of these bowls of rice and stir fry, and like how they're going to be framed while they're eating it. You're gonna like all these things are there. They can be bullshitted to an extent, but you do eventually have to draw them. If you just think vaguely about food, that is not enough to like actually make like a convincing scene. And in this fucking scene as well, to make this shit actually like interesting to fucking look at and to look like it's actual characters like actually doing things, like I was saying earlier, I have to design every device in the room they are in. I have to think about the room they are in and how it plays off of the ship that they are on. Like how the characters are like interacting with all this shit and stuff like that. What is this big fucking ring in the middle? It's like, it's a hologram machine because like I want the characters to be able to see, or I want the viewer to be able to see what the characters are talking about. Like Punk comes in and he's like, okay, here's like I hacked into the mark that we're going to rob. I hacked their fucking ship or whatever. And um I found out, that there's no longer like freighter boxes, like cargo boxes or whatever that we're going to be stealing. Now they're going to be trains that we're stealing from. Is like kind of like what I had to fucking do here. And I had to decide how these trains look in this hologram, that they are interacting with a hologram. Why would this be the way that it's conveyed other than like a computer with a flat screen? What is every character doing in every moment of this fucking thing as Punk comes in here and like, makes his captain mad, as he tries to like offer a strategy to where his fucking coworkers will not die, in this fucking heist or whatever. All that shit needs to be fucking thought of. I had to think about, the Matrix ripoff spine plug and like what that means, like all these fucking things. So when you're coming up with your personal project or, doing a gig at work or something like that, think about all these little things. Like, I'm not saying like stop working and then like, go in and then just like sit there and ponder like what every little fucking thing is, philosophically to a fucking T. Like there's an amount of bullshitting that you can fucking do, but if you go in and are just like, oh, I'm gonna like it's time for me to make my epic or whatever, and then like you don't know what a scene comprises of, yeah, of course you're gonna like try it and then like be like, I can't fucking do this because you may have dumped an astronomical amount of effort on yourself that you just don't have practice dealing with. This this film itself, even just being like a little animatic, is like it required so much more thought and time and effort just for like a conversation compared to fucking dumpster fire that I oftentimes was just like sitting there cross-eyed like what the fuck did I get myself into. And on a gig there have been many times where directors and producers have just been like, hey, where's my scene, idiot? You're not done yet, kind of fucking thing. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I am an idiot who's not productive enough, even though I've been working 9 hours a day. Like, why am I not done? And you'll feel guilty, and your fucking bosses will think you're dumb as fuck. And it's just best to be really truly aware of what every artistic pursuit kind of entails. These things, I've said this before, like, on social media and stuff like that a lot, but I like really, really want people to get this. Art is not comprised of self-discipline or productivity or efficiency. Okay? Like a short film cannot just be made on being driven. There's not any amount of drivenness or fucking like productivity or whatever or gumption or moxie that is going to create a film. Films are made of shots, dialogue, character design, sound, sound effects, voice directing, music, fucking like little individual things on characters, little fucking individual details. Like they are comprised of many, many, many things that just take a certain amount of time and effort and thought, and sometimes are just literally physically impossible. Sometimes you will just get an assignment at work that is literally physically impossible. Sometimes you will plan a project that is just literally physically impossible related to like your expectations or whatever. Like you give yourself enough time, like sure, but like if you're just like, oh, like I saw my favorite artist making a serialized animated series or whatever, or I saw them make a feature length animated movie, because I saw this one person do that, I should do that or I can do that or something like that. And what people don't fucking realize is that each of the things that that person did to make that film is all stuff that they had immense amounts of fucking practice on and like really, really thought about, like piece by piece. And even if they didn't think about it, it was like sheer momentum. But nobody, just because they saw something on the internet, like an art project that they think is cool, should go into that thing expecting to be able to do it at the speed or the schedule or the level of productivity or whatever that they see the artist, doing. Like you should never go into these projects like I have a sci-fi epic idea, and because I saw somebody do a sci-fi epic, now I just have to do it. And then you go into it and then you can't, like within like the time frame or whatever that you saw this other person do it, and you feel stupid, and you're like, what is the point in making personal projects? I suck at this. I'm not even gonna fucking try. This happens so fucking much, and I fucking hate it because I want more cool shit to look at. But I am. This is a part of my little like personal campaign. In a vacuum to just get people to be fair to themselves about the art that they want to make. That's the whole fucking point. Like all these things, everything I do, even as an animatic, I am only able to make an animatic that is like this long because I have been doing storyboards every week for the last 10 years for TV shows. Like, the only reason that I even feel like doing any piece of personal art on my own is because I've been making internet cartoons since I was literally a fucking child. Um, I started posting internet cartoons and animations and shit when I was like fucking 13. I'm 33. Like, I have had a lot of fucking practice. And I know a lot of people who see, the shit that I do personally, and they feel bad because they're just like, why am I not making, fucking whole ass pilots that are like fucking 14 minutes and stuff like that. And they beat themselves up and like, they don't want to fucking make art because they're just like, oh, I saw a person doing a thing and I failed to do that thing to the expectation that I had set in my mind because of what I saw them do. You have no idea what any person is doing to actually get any project done. Like seriously. And if you want to actually make your own fucking projects or to just be fucking efficient at work and you see somebody doing something that kind of resembles like where you want to be creatively, you have to know exactly what it takes to do that in ingredients. You cannot just say, you know, I want to make a fucking Thanksgiving dinner, and then like not know what any of the ingredients for every fucking dish in that Thanksgiving dinner is and like not buy all the shit involved, like to just sit down and be like, yo, I'm in a kitchen and now I'm going to make a Thanksgiving dinner. You can't do that. And most artists are fucking doing that and then being like, why am I such a lazy piece of shit? I see all these other artists able to do like so fucking much, or whatever. Like all these other artists are making Thanksgiving dinners and I'm such a lazy piece of shit because I went into my kitchen and decided I'm making a Thanksgiving dinner, and I wasn't able to do it. It's like, nigga, did you go grocery shopping? Did you look at recipes? Did you fucking like, do you know what you are making? Do you know what each dish is going to fucking be? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So, listen, if you're a young cat or if you're fucking my age, and like are trying to make personal projects or do, gigs that require a lot of fucking effort, you are going to have to start being fair to yourself. There ain't no fucking amount of shame that you can feel that can make you creatively do something that is literally physically impossible. I don't care how bad and unproductive you fucking feel about anything or how much shame any dipshit asshole fucking gives you for not being able to like do something on time like as they fucking expected, as they tend to fucking do sometimes. You will run into those people in the professional world. It does not fucking matter how you feel about that. If you do not do every single thing related to something, it's not gonna fucking happen. And shaming yourself and feeling bad about that because you couldn't do that because you misread the amount of effort or thought or time something took, or you saw somebody else who had way more practice doing something, you ain't gonna be able to shame yourself into doing something you're not capable of. And it's not that you would never be capable of that or that you're horrible at it. It's just like a guy who does not run is not going to be able to just decide to be like a good athlete, in a fucking triathlon never practice, never look into like what people are doing or what that takes, and then be able to just walk onto a track and just stunt on everybody. It doesn't happen. Like, it's not about who you are. It's not about like, anything personal to like yourself or like how capable you are or something like that. It's literally just that, like, even with art, even though you're just drawing stuff, nothing is ever just drawing. Like, you have to know what something looks like in order to draw it. You have to have seen something in order to fucking convey it decently, at least on a video, at least in Google Images. So, that's all I'm here to fucking say. Be fair to your fucking self. Because you have nothing to fucking lose. If you're not capable of something in a fucking moment, but you see another artist capable of that thing, that means that you just haven't practiced it, or you don't have the momentum yet, or something like that. And all you have to do is just get that momentum going. Just do what you are capable of in the moment. And if you are going to try something that you're not capable of in the moment, to a certain level of speed or efficiency or expectation or something like that, if you're not capable of that, that's not a character flaw. That's not something to feel guilty about. Art is just fucking tedious. It just takes a lot of time and thought and effort and research. And, if you sit down and you aren't capable of fucking doing something, you probably misjudged what that thing fucking took. But there is no amount of efficiency or like fucking, like productivity or shame about my fucking efficiency or productivity or like my quality of an artist that's going to make this animatic go faster. I have signed up myself voluntarily to make a portfolio piece that is in a bullshitted sci-fi world, and I have to think about every single fucking thing that comes on screen. And if I don't finish it, or if I'm not capable of finishing it, which is highly possible, that's not a reflection on me. I'm intimately aware of that now in my fucking 30s, but when I was fucking like in my 20s, I thought I was a piece of shit every time I couldn't fucking finish something. And I know some of y'all niggas feel this way. Stop it. It's not helping. You're not making yourself a better artist by feeling shame about what you're not capable of currently, because you can teach yourself those skills, especially if you see another person doing it. If you see somebody else doing something that you're not capable of yet, you should feel good, because that means that you can actually learn to do that. If you see somebody else doing it, it doesn't mean you should be doing it and you should feel bad if you're not capable of doing it right now. It just means that that thing is possible with practice and effort. Slow the fuck down. If you're doing something that is so difficult that it fucking intimidates you, take a break. Go do something else that is smaller, and then once you've done that, your ability to do that thing that you initially wanted to do that was too difficult goes up. That's what happened with like me and like Kill Wolfie. Like the first Kill Wolfie short, I had never made anything with that many drawings before. That's a 3-minute cartoon. I spent like I've made cartoons that are like 10 minutes the entire time I was a fucking kid, But like when I was doing that shit, those cartoons, their art doesn't hold up because I didn't research anything. I did not take time to really design anything. I just drew whatever I had in my fucking mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can also approach art that way. In fact, I think it's quite healthy because like it'll give you pencil mileage. You'll get better. Like, like everything, there is no such thing as wasted time if you are actually doing something with art. But, the art in the 10-minute cartoons that I was making when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, I don't show those to people. I don't put those in my fucking portfolio because that lesser amount of thought that I put into those than like what I put into even punk ass, which is not even a full ass cartoon with color or anything. Those are all full ass cartoons. This animatic requires more thought and research than anything I made when I was a fucking kid. So I hope that all made sense. Like just take it easy. Like whether you hate yourself and shame yourself for your productivity level or what you are currently capable of as an artist, certain shit just takes time. Everything takes time. Everything takes the time it's gonna take, no matter how you fucking feel about it. Time, time doesn't care about your feelings. Okay, like really, like seriously, like if you set out to make a sci-fi cartoon, you're gonna have to fucking it at very least steal things deliberately, and stealing things deliberately from other sci-fi content takes a few hours for every little thing you fucking do. You know, all the characters in this cartoon they plug plugs in the back into the back of their necks because I grew up with the Matrix and it's like one of my favorite movies, and like but like everything in the Matrix is extremely thought out. The Matrix might be like 2 hours, but there are movies that are the same length of the Matrix that took um like exponentially less time, because everything in the Matrix had to be designed, made up, choreographed, and had to like make a decent amount of sense to where you won't look at the screen and be like, "Oh, I'm looking at a bunch of dumbasses stammering on screen about things that aren't real." No, like the Matrix is goofy and it has a lot of bullshit wiggle room for a lot of its fucking, lore and the way that things function, but at, at the end of the day, it is an extremely high effort product. That everything about it was different than say Reservoir Dogs, which is another movie I love. Reservoir Dogs is longer than The Matrix and was made with exponentially less money, with exponentially less people. Which filmmaker is better? Is Tarantino a better creative than the Wachowski sisters? No. Like that's an amount of content, but every detail about it had its own needs, and you have to pay attention to those needs and your own ability to deliver on those needs. If you need help, ask for help from other people. There's nothing wrong with that. But just like temper your expectations. I'm not saying do things that you think are boring all the time just because they're easy. I'm just saying that like if you expect epic shit out of yourself and can't do it, there is probably a good like actual reality based reason as to why that is. You know? This drawing I'm making right now is a key drawing. I'm gonna use this drawing for every piece of acting. Like Punk is gonna be like nodding in this fucking shot. And I had to like think very carefully about this drawing. Now, I've been rambling this whole fucking time, but this drawing is gonna take more effort than say the next drawing where his head's gonna be like bobbing up, like he's gonna be like fucking nodding his head or whatever. Um, Now because I made this key drawing, all this shit's gonna be way fucking faster because I already know like where his muzzle is, like where his eye is gonna be. This is gonna be way easier than the fucking drawing I just made, and they're basically the same. That's a difference in time, literally just for this drawing's very purpose, even though all these drawings have the same amount of detail in them. I hope any of that made sense. Yeah, be nicer to your fucking self. It really doesn't fucking matter. Like, all that matters is what you do. If you shame yourself, you are probably less likely to do what you fucking want. Um, just be the artist that you are in the moment and let things take the time that they take. It does not matter what shit looks like in your fucking head. Like, art is just long and tedious. And even when you've been drawing your whole fucking life and you're in your fucking mid 30s like me, things still fucking take time. There are still things that I am not capable of doing on a fucking whim just because I had a fucking idea. That's my rant. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you didn't enjoy it and that you learned something, nigga.